delighted to hear more about this fascinating work that you've just been listening to and looking at. I would now like to invite Yasser Musa to give his paper, and we will then have Bruce and open the panel for discussion.
Good morning. I'd like to begin with an act of performance. And before I commit to that act, I would like to preface it and give a context for it. In the early 1990s, I went to the university in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, LSU, and I sat in an art history class. And I went to the library after that class to look up an artist I had never heard about. His name was Picasso. But it seemed that the people in the room had heard so much about him, so I figured this must be an important man. I am from Belize City. And I came in here yesterday, spent 9 hours on the bus. But I feel extraordinarily energized by this 15 minutes I have been given.
I apologize.
It's okay. But I can still feel that moment 20 plus years ago when I went to that library and I went to the shelf looking for the book about Picasso and took off the shelf a massive book. I remember it clearly. It had a kind of cheesecloth cover and it had his gestural signature blazed across it in black. And the first thought that came to me then, and the thought that I have now, is why do people spend so much time putting things in books? And so I've spent the last 20 years, and with apologies to my electronic friend Louis, he's not here. He and I went through an email conversation about what I'm about to speak today, and I wrote it down. And I printed it, but I don't think I should read it because that will sound boring. But that's on record, and we will publish it on some website sometime in the future, I guess. But if that's not, anyway, that's not an issue. But the central idea that I got from his emailing was mixing and combining, or the question of it. Are we mixing or are we combining, or both? And obviously I could not possibly give you an answer in such 12 and a half minutes that I have left. But
13.
Thank you. But I can tell you that since that moment with that book, I have spent the past 20 plus years in a serious engagement, a serious intention to figure out how I can work in my society. A society, Belize, that the United Nations in 2012 described as the third most violent place on the planet Earth. I know you don't believe me because you've read all the brochures that says it's a jewel, and you have seen all the imagery that has been reconstructed about who we are and what we should be about. And so, I can't believe I took so long to preface my act of performance. But I hold here, this is not a cocaine brick. This is a book called Landings. And I will open it slowly, because this is why I spent 9 hours. It says on the cover, Landings, New Art Plus Ideas from the Caribbean and Central America, 2000 to 2010. And what this book represents is a kind of coming together for the first time of artists and writers and thinkers without the obligation, without the frustration, without the kissing of ass of any government, of any institution, of any museum, of anything that calls themselves what we call in this book the mafia of art. And we took our responsibility serious from 1992, the 500th anniversary of the the crash. And we said that we have to get this thing done on our terms. And so you can look it up. I'm sure you can buy one of these online, and I encourage you to do so. This is not a marketing exercise, but 464 pages of the thoughts, of the ideas, of the feelings, of the expression of young artists from the Caribbean and Central America. Let's not forget that. What we call the hurricane zone. And why my paper was supposed to be called today, I Wake Up in the Yucatan. I tell my students in Belize, because I am part of a team that introduced for the first time, after a 40-year negotiation with the Catholic Church, the teaching of African and Maya history in our curriculum. This is big news. This is art news. You might ask, well, how the hell can that be art? The work of artists is not to make art. That is just the product. The work of artists, to me, is the engagement, is the process of trying to undermine systems that have gotten us to the point of becoming the third most violent place on earth. So this image, while it doesn't look violent, is a brick. It looks like I'm into bricks of ice. It's a project I did called the Ice Project. And I took it, this block of ice, I properly put it in a sarcophagus of a cloth, like the Shroud of Turin, I guess. And I put it in an ice box. And I went to the barrier reef. This is the famous barrier reef you see of Belize in the brochures. And I set it there. And just yesterday, my good friend Joan Duran reminded me of how it looks so much like a stela. But the metaphor, it's a new, I've reinvented what this thing means. I used to say something until yesterday, I'm saying a new thing now. This thing now means it is actually, this ice will just melt away, nothing, into a kind of nothingness. How do I move now? Oh, sorry. But the reason I'm so fascinated with these books, how much time I have left?
You have about 4 minutes.
Wow, all right, let's go. This book didn't just happen like a genie out of a bottle. It took from the red to the orange landings. I will end my conversation on this concept of landings. We provoked a push called landings, the name of all these books from the red to the orange, and each book represents the red one. Is the first landings, 2004 in Concal, which is right north, small town north of this city, Concal, Mexico, and we exhibited our work in a former Franciscan monastery. And then we went on and exhibited in other places, including Costa Rica and the Dominican Republic and Havana and Washington and Taipei. Yes, Taipei, that sounds frightening, but it is. And we ended up with the Orange in Belize City in a forum not as big as this, but with all the 70+ team members that we corralled, that we encouraged and harnessed over the 6-7 year time span, and we invited them to Belize City, to the Image Factory and Art Foundation that I've been working, managing for the past 20 years. And we had a summit of all summits, I thought. We recorded it, and I still have all the recordings, 13 hours, so the 9 that I spent getting here is nothing. 13 hours of talking. I have not reviewed it, but that could be put in a, who the hell would want to listen to that, I'm thinking right now. But the point is that unless we take matters into our own hands, and when we mix our work, we cannot be brutally honest unless we confront the history of our environment. And that's why I said I wake up in the Yucatan, because although we are now bordered as a country called Belize, essentially we are all connected in this hurricane zone. And the hurricane does not refer only to the climatological hurricane, but to the man-made hurricane that has, but that continues to hit us. Yes, it comes as an eye, electronically through the media, calm and beautiful. Just look at Christine Malvo and Christiana Manpour. They are beautiful people from CNN and Al Jazeera. But there really are, the storm is hitting us. And so artists, this is how I'll end. I have a minute.
Yes.
Artists and thinkers and writers and poets have a responsibility for social engagement, because it is not a luxury to be an artist, it is a responsibility that you have to your society. Thank you.
And thank you very much for your presentation, which is so fascinating, which allowed us to see artist performance, artist activism, artist collective independent action, and artist hurricane. And of course, Bruce Paddington is our next presenter, and Bruce's last film is about the kinds of ways that art can in fact investigate ideas of revolution. I would like to invite Bruce to give his presentation.
Hello. Yeah. It's very difficult to come after that very engaging presentation by Yasser, and also I'm very